all of the water we get at the wastewater treatment plant, in just one day, that water gets cleaned up to the point where it's river water.
Welcome to the Home Comfort Zone podcast. My name is Theresa. I'm the marketing manager at All Comfort Services. Today I have Catherine Harris, who's the pollution prevention specialist at Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today to talk about salt reduction.
Let's dive right into that
Okay.
topic. What are you guys working on right now with salt reduction? What is that topic about?
Yeah, so in the upper Midwest, we have such an abundance of fresh water, and we want to keep it that way because it is such a treasured resource. I want to share with you an amazing statistic, which is that in Wisconsin, the Great Lakes that touch us, Superior and Michigan, that water in those lakes represents 15% of the surface water that is fresh water in the entire world. So we have some really amazing resources here, and that's just those two lakes, right? Then you factor in our lakes, our rivers, our groundwater. It's all around us. We need water to be fresh if we want to grow food, if we want to drink water, which we all have to, right? Eight glasses a day, something like that. So we want to protect that resource. And we don't think of salt as toxic usually because we put it on our French fries, popcorn, right? But for our freshwater ecosystems, 1 teaspoon in 5 is enough to bring 5 gallons of water to a point where it's harmful for freshwater organisms. They can't grow as big and be as healthy. So we want to keep that out. And the reason why this is something that we're working on at the wastewater treatment plant is that all of the water we get at the wastewater treatment plant, in just one day, that water gets cleaned up to the point where it's river water.
So right now, salt is going into the lakes and streams from the homes and businesses and from the water, the roads, and the waste treatment plant is identifying the quantities of salt.
Yeah, we're monitoring every single day what's coming in, and whatever comes in is what's going out. So we receive more than 200,000 pounds every single day at the wastewater treatment plant that's going into our freshwater streams. And that's a direct result of what comes to us at the plant. So water softeners are our number one source. They're very common in this area. And at the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District, we're looking at a lot of different ways to start reducing salt from different perspectives. So we're working with industries, we're working with commercial properties. You just talked to Sustain Dane, and they have some really amazing programs. Their Efficiency Navigator, we're partnering with them on that program, adding softeners as a component that they're looking at. We are also a founding member of the Wisconsin Saltwise Partnership, who's been on this podcast. Allison Madison, right, has been here before. So today, I think, since you're a plumbing shop, our main focus is talking about home softeners, right?
Right.
So for anyone who is not familiar with softeners, do you want to give them a quick, elevator speech?
Sure. So there's minerals
Yeah.
in the water in this part of the country. Mm-hmm. And there's some parts around the counties, different counties, in different parts of Dane County, mm-hmm. where they have more mineral content than others. Mm-hmm. And our plumbers do check those minerals. And where people want to have soft water. And when I say soft water, it's the idea that when you're taking a shower and you have all the suds, the soft water makes that suds. Mm-hmm. And without soft water, it wouldn't sud. Mm-hmm. So that's a way to tell if you have enough salt in your softener that's making it soft through that process. But so when our plumbers work with customers, they're going to ask them first what do they want as a customer, and so then they're going to identify the settings on the water softener. They're going to make sure that it's efficient they're going to make sure, like when they swap out a water heater, that they're going to check out the water softener too and look at it. If you're using more than 1 bag of salt a month, that's a really good indicator that you need a new water softener, that it's basically putting salt directly into the lakes and streams, and it doesn't need to. It needs to be more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. So that mineral that is the reason we have softeners, calcium and magnesium, some people call it like lime scale. When we're talking about hard water, we're not talking about ice or anything. We're talking about water that has a mineral content in it. And the softeners help remove that.
We can go right into what you guys are doing to remove, well, you can't remove the salt, right? That's the point. The salt doesn't get removed once you flush the toilet, once you run the water down the drain.
It all comes to Nine Springs Wastewater Treatment Plant in this area. So even though we have the Madison name, we're about 24 communities that make up the metropolitan piece of that sewage district. So yeah, in Dane County, a good chunk of residents, when they flush the toilet, it will come to the wastewater treatment plant, and then we receive that water, 40 million gallons a day. It gets cleaned up to the point where it's released back into the environment as fishable and swimmable river water.
So right now in our homes, when we run our faucets, some of them are hooked up to the softener and some aren't. What are some ways that we can find out where we're using the softener water and when we're not using the softener water?
Yeah, so we have on our website a place where you can go view a video that gives a demonstration of how to check in a very low-tech way, which is simply getting a jar of water from the source you're trying to test. And if it's from your toilet, you can take it from the back of the tank. You don't have to take it out of the bowl. And then you just put a couple drops of soap, pure soap, like a Dr. Bronner's type thing. Shake it up. If it lathers, then you usually will know in this area you have soft water. If it doesn't lather so well and it just kind of turns cloudy, you have hard water likely. So that's one kind of low-tech DIY way. You can also, on the madsewer.org website, you can go and request hardness test strips. And I sent some to Theresa.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Let's see these.
So the kit that you would get in the mail from me has really simple instructions. You can see the 4 steps here. Fill the cup, dip a strip. If it changes colors, then that means that you have hard water there. If it stays the same, then you have soft water. So that's a good way to test what your softener is hooked up to, because we don't want everything in our house hooked up to soft water. Hose bibs, or like the spigot, Silcock, your hose, that's usually something you don't want hooked up to soft water, because you don't want to be watering your garden with sodium water that has sodium in it that has gone through the softener. So that's one thing that you can test. The other thing that we recommend testing is toilets. So some people, everyone's going to have a different acceptability on what they're willing to have, hard water or soft water for their home, different places. But many homes in our area have what's called hot-only plumbing. So they only send water from the softener to things that get hot water. So toilets are a huge source of water use in our home. I think the EPA estimates around 30% of home water use comes from just toilet flushing alone. So if we can disconnect our toilets from the softener and be comfortable with using hard water in the toilet, then we can be reducing our salt use hugely.
So you can still maintain the comforts of having that softened water, and you can also be doing something good for the environment and for your home.
Yes.
And you know, you obviously don't want softener water. You want to be drinking that from your tap. So that is, if that's been plumbed correctly.
Yeah,
you know,
it's really common for the kitchen to be getting hard water.
So, well, you mean hard water with the hot water? You mean, or with the it's soft? It doesn't hard water. Sorry,
yeah, in the kitchen.
That part.
Yeah, in the kitchen we usually want to see the natural water that hasn't been treated. So you usually have hard water in your kitchen. Yeah.
Right, and then so some of the things some people might be concerned about having more hard water going through their pipes. There are hacks that you can do to help. What are some? You learned some from our plumbers recently.
I did, yes. One of my very favorite hacks came from a plumber here at All Comfort Services. It's a great cheat code for life. If you have like a ring developing around your toilet bowl, and you've done the regular cleaning steps that you would do, and that thing just is still there, and it's like that mineral that's kind of hard and built up, you can actually use a pumice stone to take that off. Yeah, so vinegar is like the ultimate cheat code for most things that come up in my life with hard water. So if like the coffee pot's going a little slower than usual, or like I have a electric kettle to make tea, boiling water, if that thing gets too much scale in it, that white powdery stuff, then you can just boil vinegar or run vinegar through it and that'll work. I've also heard a lot about people seeing like a little crust on their faucets. Have you seen this?
Yep.
Yeah.
And on shower heads.
Shower heads.
Yep,
That's the other one.
Places.
So I've seen a couple different hacks for that one. Again, vinegar is your best friend is kind of the summary.
Right. I've done that myself. You take the shower head, you take a plastic bag and a rubber band around that, fill that with vinegar, and then it won't take long and all that gets dissolved in there.
And it just really breaks it apart. You can kind of scrub it off really easy then. Yeah, it's not stuck on. So.
Right. So we've brought up some really good, you brought up some great things that homeowners can do. I know that's part of our inspection. When our plumbers go into a home, they have test strips too, and they can test the water and identify that. And they can identify someone's water softener to see is it operating properly. But there's a test online, isn't there, too?
There is on, again, madsewer.org. And hopefully we can get some links in there or something, clickables for the podcast. We have a softener self-screen. This is kind of like if you've ever done WebMD, you're like, I have a headache. What does this mean? And you answer all your symptoms and it tells you. That's what you can do with your home softener. So it'll ask you about things like, does it have a digital screen or does it have a dial? It'll ask you about any problems that you've noticed. If you can find the model number or the make, and then it'll kind of walk you through the age, asking about the age of the softener too, because age is really important. We worked with All Comfort Services on a pilot program a couple years ago, and your plumbers really like kind of caught on this phrase, clunkers. That's what they call them if they get over 15 years old. Like, remember the cash for clunkers?
Right.
Yeah, so if your softener's getting too old, the self-screen will give you a report that tells you some recommendations about maybe what next steps you might take. And for models that are not in our system or not distinguishable, the answer is, of course, call your plumber because they are experts.
Yeah. Definitely.
We've been working with Local 75, Plumbers Union Local 75, on making sure that training is available on water softeners. Because for a really long time, salt was cheap. We didn't think about it. It wasn't an issue. So softeners kind of were installed. It was a set it and forget it. Now that salt is an issue for us in this area, and we really want to focus on protecting that fresh water, that mentality and some of the set it and forget it ideas have to change. So Local 75 has been a great partner in bringing together classes for their members, which I understand some folks here at All Comfort Services are involved with, to change the norms around how we put these things in. So making sure that they're, like you said, testing the water or setting it based on known values instead of a best guess or maybe something that they always go to. So we're working on training plumbers and working with them to understand how to really get these softeners more and more efficient.
So I understand there's some other things that plumbers can install when you're getting a new water softener that you can install to help.
We have a really exciting new thing, and when I say new thing, I mean it's not new, but it's different. It's new to this area, and it's called a blending valve. Blending valves are something that has been, to my knowledge, used elsewhere in the world for many, many years and even are required in some places. But it's new to our area. They're not super common, and the easiest way to describe a blending valve is it's a small, I wish we had one right here, but it's a small piece that goes on the back of your softener. From a homeowner's perspective, you probably wouldn't even notice it's there because it just looks like all the other bits and pieces that are on the back of the softener, knobs and dials and things. But it's a small piece that adds onto the back, and it allows you to control your water quality in your house. So we're used to being able to control our comfort. If I'm cold, I, turn the temperature down. Or the opposite. If I'm cold, I turn the temperature up. If I'm hot, I turn the temperature down, right? We can choose like what range we like to be comfortable in. And with a softener, the standard kind of out of the box way that they come in many cases is that they're only softening all of the water. So you don't have a choice. It's all or nothing. And a blending valve really allows homeowners to select something in between to find that comfortable setting for them. So like for me, I grew up in an area that didn't have hard water, but it wasn't completely soft either. We measure water hardness in a measurement called grains. And so softeners they're only capable usually of going down to 0 grains. But if you grew up in a place like that has surface water, maybe Lake Michigan water or something like that, Milwaukee, Chicago, Duluth, you're used to water that has some hardness in it. The water there is like 7 or 8 grains, and that's comfortable to many people without a softener. So here in Dane County, we have more hard water than that, but usually the way a softener works is that it will only go to 0. The blending valve allows us to control where that is, and if you're comfortable with it, you can bring your hardness up to 7 or 8 grains, which really helps save the amount of times that softener is going to regenerate, and it helps save the amount of salt that's going back in the environment.
So there's things everybody can do to help with reducing salt. And so we've talked about things that happen at the home. What are some things that are going on that the community who's watching this is working on for as far as like road salt?
Oh yeah, well road salt is an issue because we can all see the runoff that happens when snow melts, and that salt like kind of seems like it disappears, but it's really going into our waterways, it's going into the soils, and it's even getting into our groundwater. So there are some drinking water wells in the area that are seeing the amount of chloride, which is a component of salt. Sodium chloride is a common salt that we use for de-icing. You see the amount of chloride going up and up and up in those wells. So it is something, road salt is something that impacts us as well. But that's another area where professionals who work there are leading the way with new technologies. They're trying new things. You may have seen something like those lines on the road. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the lines, what that's called in the industry is anti-icing. And there's some counties in Wisconsin, they're only using anti-icing liquids or direct liquid application, and they're seeing huge reductions. So some places have seen 70% reductions in their salt use through using these new techniques.
Is it cost effective too?
Yeah.
So they might be, doing some of these practices, they're actually saving money too. Buying all that salt and
Yes.
storing it, I'm sure is very expensive.
Yeah, a great resource for seeing examples of huge salt savings and financial savings that go along with it are available at Wisconsin Saltwise on their website, their YouTube channel, their social media. There's some really cool case studies in there.
So you've given us lots of really good information. I feel like I can be doing some things in my home, and I hope the listeners have some good takeaways and businesses. I really appreciate you coming out and helping us today.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. I think one thing that's really exciting about working in this field is that, sometimes I can feel like, wow, there's so many big problems, and especially with the environment, like how can I as one person like ever make a difference? And salt is something that we all interact with every day, whether it's our road salt, walking around in the winter, how we drive, how much time we leave before we go on our commute in the winter, taking care of our water softeners, making sure that those are updated, or even trying something new, like maybe a blending valve. This is a problem that we can actually solve right here locally, and that's gives me a lot of hope and optimism, because a big business can make a change, and we can see that right away at the wastewater treatment plant, which is really cool. If enough people are making small changes in their houses, that will add up, and we will see that right away. And our fresh waters will be better off for generations. So thanks so much for all that you're doing here at All Comfort Services and your technicians are doing to lead the way with salt reduction and informing their customers about ways that they can help reduce salt too.